I'm standing today by Redwood Level Crossing, which today looks a little bit different. It's all covered up because they're doing engineering works on the line at the moment, so no trains are coming through here, so they have closed the crossing. Now, this crossing was recently upgraded. It was completed just a few months ago, and they fitted in these new pedestrian gates to stop pedestrians entering the crossing whilst the crossing is active. Now, this is obviously a very, very important new safety feature that is gradually working its way onto more and more new crossings around the Wellington region and indeed around the country. It's necessary for KiwiRail to show that they're committed to safety as part of getting their funding from the government. However, I've got a little bit of a bee in my bonnet about the design of these gates. Now, I've talked about this before. My friend Jamie, who runs the channel Jamie's Rail Photography, has also talked about this issue before, and I'm going to explain exactly what I think the problem is. To understand what the problem is with the pedestrian gates, we need to have a look at how they're designed. So come with me now and we'll have a look. So there are two components to the pedestrian gates. There's this gate, which is the automated one that shuts when the crossing activates and opens again when the crossing deactivates, just like the barriers go up and down for the cars. But then there's also the manual gates, and these are the ones that I have a problem with, and also Jamie as well, he's said the same thing. These gates are the so-called emergency exit gates. So if you're halfway over the crossing and this gate closes because there's a train coming, then there is a safe emergency exit for you to exit the crossing. Now, the problem is that these gates don't have any locks or any safety equipment in place to ensure that they're not abused. Even when the lights are flashing and this gate is closed, you can still open this gate from this side and just walk over anyway. And that is what hundreds of or even thousands of people are doing on these crossings every single day. What's the solution? Well, the solution has already been invented, because up in Auckland, where they also have these gates, they have fitted a magnetic lock to these gates and fitted a button sort of somewhere over here that you press to open the gate. But it's far enough in that somebody standing on this side can't just reach over and press it and let themselves in. So my question to KiwiRail is, why don't all crossings have that? Because some people from KiwiRail who I was talking to the other day, I said to them, what is the point in installing this system if it isn't actually all that safe? And they turned around and said to me, you know, we're installing this equipment for people's safety, and they say that if people are abusing our equipment and not using it properly, well then that's their fault, not ours. Now, I disagree with that, because you have designed a system that makes these crossings safer. So why aren't you using it, KiwiRail? Okay? The equipment and the technology is there to make these gates safer so that people are not going to jump the crossing and risk getting killed. Okay? Why would you not install that, you know? It's all very well saying, oh, well, it's kind of their fault they got killed because they jumped the crossing. But if you had installed the proper safety equipment that prevented them from opening that gate in the first place, then an accident wouldn't happen, you know? You know, because if there was an accident and I was the head of the board of inquiry, I would be the first person to ask KiwiRail, well, hang on a minute, why were they able to open that gate in the first place? That sounds rather dangerous to me. Shouldn't there be a button release or something? You know? It's fairly obvious. Now, if anything, these gates are in fact redundant anyway, because even if you were trapped on this side of the gate when it was closed, you're still not going to be hit by a train if you're on this side of this fence, because these gates have to be designed to be far enough back from the tracks that a train won't hit them if they malfunction and fail to close. So they're far enough back that if you're on this side, you're still not going to get hit, making this almost completely redundant. But there's another problem as well, which is that the standard way to install these gates is to install them closed and prop the emergency gate open. Now that in itself is rather dangerous, because it means that people using the crossing during this intermittent phase, whilst the crossing isn't complete, means that people know that they will learn that the emergency exit gate is here, and they will learn to use it, and that therefore encourages people to use this gate to jump the crossing. So that's another safety hazard. Now that's not the only problem I have with the current design of level crossings from KiwiRail. I also have a problem with the bells. These are the Western Cullen Hayes e-bells. They are the current standard bells that KiwiRail installs at level crossings at present, and have been for a number of years. Now recently, KiwiRail have started turning down the volume on these bells, because these bells are electric and they have volume controls on them, so you can change how loud they are. And KiwiRail have been introducing a quiet setting. They've been turning the bells down quieter. Now I can't tell you how stupidly dangerous this is, because when the bells are on that quiet setting, they're much harder to hear. If you're driving, they're harder to hear. If you're a pedestrian, if you've got your headphones on and you're playing music loudly, which a lot of pedestrians do these days, then it becomes next to impossible to hear the bells. And I've heard numerous complaints from people saying that the bells are too quiet and they can't hear them. Now KiwiRail say that the reason for turning down the volume on the bells is because of complaints from people who live near the level crossing about the noise. Look, I'm sorry, but if you are annoyed by the sound of level crossing bells every day, then don't buy a house next to a level crossing, you know? You have a choice of houses to buy, you know? If you choose to buy a house by a level crossing, that's your problem, it's not KiwiRail's. KiwiRail, you should not be putting people's lives at risk by making the bells quieter just to satisfy a few neighbours. You know, sod them, you know? It's their fault for buying a house by a level crossing in the first place, you know? Turn the volume back up so people can hear the bells and stay safe, rather than having these bells be too quiet where people just cannot hear them. It's dangerous. Come on, okay? You have the infrastructure available to you to make these crossings safer, so why don't you actually just use it, you know, and stop risking people getting killed, rather than leaving it to chance and blaming it on people's own ignorance, you know? It's not good enough to just say, oh well, if they decide to be an arse, well, so be it. That's not good enough, okay? Your job when you design these level crossings is to stop people getting killed, okay? So do your job properly and design a crossing that stops people getting killed. Stop fitting it with half-job safety features that don't work and bells that are too inaudible to hear just to please the neighbours. I don't care what they think, okay? Make our crossings safer. Please.